My name is Stephen McGown. I'm a South African citizen. Today's date is Tuesday, the 20th of October, 2015. My wife and my family, I am well. I hope you are all well back home.
In 20 November 2011 sal vir ewig in Stephen McGown van Johannesburg se brein gegraveer bly. Dit is die dag waarop hy, Sjaak Ryke van Nederland en Johan Gustafsson van Swede in Timbuktu, Mali, deur Osama bin Laden se Al-Qaïda terreurgroep gevange geneem is. Vir byna 6 jaar was hy Al-Qaïda se gevangene in die Sahara woestyn. Hy was 'n doodgewone toerist op 'n motorfiets wat van Londen na Johannesburg gereis het. Stephen hou die rekord as die Al-Qaïda gevangene wat die langste aangehou is en oorleef het. Sy boek 6 Years with Al-Qaïda is onlangs bekendgestel. Ons het met Stephen, sy vrou Kath en sy pa Malcolm gesels.
I arrived in Timbuktu. I was traveling with a couple of other tourists. My plan wasn't really to go to Timbuktu. The sand in the desert was too thick, and I kept falling off my bike in the sand, and my bike was too heavy. But I went there to literally tick the box, to do a U-turn and just push on south and get back on track for SA. I wasn't even there a day. At just 3 p.m., 3 guys walked into our complex. I had my back to the street, and I didn't see them, to be honest. I was with a Dutch couple and a Swedish national. The Dutch couple, the wife, Tilly, she was looking out towards the street, and she saw these men walk in, and she screamed. She just screamed, and I looked over my shoulder, what on earth's going on? And there was an African gentleman there. I mean, he looked like an African gentleman. He had a pistol up in the air, he was clean shaven, he was wearing a t-shirt, jeans, white Nike tackies, sneakers. And I looked at this, and I suppose being from South Africa, guns are something we have seen in the past. He wasn't looking at us, he was looking down the side of the hotel, and it was confusing. He was actually followed in by 2 other men in full Arab gear. They both had AK-47s. They were completely wrapped up, just as in the movies. The man with the pistol walked up to us, and then I realized, things were not quite as okay as I thought they may be. And they started pulling us out. This man started pulling us out. They started with Shark, who was the Dutch man. That man walked back in, and he came up and he took me. My immediate reaction was just, hands up. And I mean, it's funny because your brain starts to rattle through 1,000 scenarios. What are my options? Can I go here? Can I go there? Can I jump the wall? Can I go upstairs onto the roof? There's a man at the gate. There's a man there. There's a guy with a gun here. Everything starts to work very quickly. And once I basically processed that there was pretty much nothing I could do. There was a Toyota Land Cruiser, but that beigey camouflage color. I saw Shark, the Dutchman was getting sort of ushered, pushed into the back. I was then placed in behind him. We were then both handcuffed. And I was lying down across the vehicle from rear tire to rear tire. And I then saw them bringing out Johan, the Swedish national. And the 3 of us were then lying across the vehicle, sort of like a bunch of sardines, if you like, sort of almost spooning each other, like the 3 of us in the back. And there was a 4th gentleman there, his name was Martin. He was a tourist, he wasn't with us, I didn't know him. They then dragged him out. And there were 3 guys pulling at him, pushing him, pulling at him. He was fighting them. He wasn't fighting with words, he was just literally, it was almost slow motion. It was a very peculiar thing because he was pushing them away, but almost like gently. The whole situation was just very surreal. And then he basically tripped over right 3 or 4 meters from us into the street. And one of the mujahideen, there were 3 mujahideen pulling at him. The one of the mujahideen was just, I'm done with this. And he just basically pulled up his AK-47 and he shot Martin in the head 3 times. I just literally heard bah, bah, bah. And that really was the end of Martin. And I turned to the guys and I said, I think they've just killed Martin. From there, we were then loaded up, completely wrapped up, covered, and we drove out into the desert. I had no idea this would be a 5-year, 8-month episode, as it turned out to be.
Sitting on a Saturday morning, and I get the phone rings next to me. I'm actually in my office, just tidying up things and getting up to date, and the phone rings, and I said, this is going to be bad news. Have you phoned me to tell me bad news? She says, yes, unfortunately. the guys have been taken.
I was due to fly back to South Africa the following week. Steve's dad called Lee. She sort of just said, no, Steve's fine. They're just some rebels who have taken him. I mean, I didn't think a kidnapping, hostage, Al-Qaeda didn't even come to mind quite yet. And then after that phone call, it was just meeting after meeting, phone call after phone call, and then all the pieces started to come together.
90% of the battering, if you like, was not a physical battering, it was an emotional battering and a mental battering. You know, I also, like I say, I had my British passport in my pocket. I'd been naturalized British I'd been British for 3 months. You know, they found me with my passport in my pocket. And as far as I'm aware, the Brits, the Americans, the French, and the Israelis are the most hated by Al-Qaeda. Me having a British passport, I really was detested. And they used to make an example of me. I would speak with my South African accent. They wouldn't hear the difference between a posh English accent or a South African accent.
And we really expected Steve to come out round about the March. Well, had meetings with the DIRCO and yeah, I mean, the very first meeting with the government, I mean, there must have been, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them that side of the table. And it was, I think, Kath, her mother, and myself, you know, fighting the good war from this side. And my last comment was to one of the top guys there. I said, listen, I can see the wheels of government turn very slowly.
I was always worried, what on earth is the UK doing at the moment? You know, what are they doing in Afghanistan? What are they doing in Iraq? What are they doing anywhere? Because had the UK been up to something, I would have been the pawn who would have been carrying the load for that. And even though Al-Qaeda would have treated me well up until that point, come that point, they would have said, right, here's a cup of water, sit down, right, we're making a proof of life video. They would have taken me, I would have knelt down, and they either would have bagged me or they would have made me hold up my British passport, and then they would have slit my throat or shot me in the head.
So the depression actually, funny enough, only came after 2.5 years of working non-stop. And of course, I'd started to run, and I was training for the comrades at the time. So I think I just exhausted myself in all areas. About 3 weeks after comrades, you know, they had said, yes, you get the post-comrades blues, and I thought it was just that. And we're now in winter. I thought it might be the winter blues, but goodness me, it just got actually worse and worse until I was actually physically depressed. I was actually ill.
I said, if Steve survives the first month and there's no attacks or that, I said, he has that nature that he will come out the other side and he'll be fine.